Gervonta Tank Davis does about 350,000 pay-per-view buys for his fight with Frank Martin. Obviously had a great performance. Honestly, the best version of Tank that I had ever seen, but only doing 350,000 pay-per-view buys. What does this say about Gervonta Davis as a superstar? What does this say about where the state of boxing is at? Let's get into it. Honestly, it's hard for me to kind of separate the business and the skill set, because ultimately we know that Tank's good. You know, he's got the goods. Tank is legit. He's a bona fide knockout artist. I think he's the only one that you can really call a knockout artist in the sport of boxing today. Maybe you throw a guy like Virgil Ortiz in there as well. You know, he stopped everybody he's been in the ring with. But Tank Davis is on a different level when it comes to that level of superstardom. You know, everybody wants to fight Tank, and at the same time, nobody wants to fight Tank. They want to get that money with Tank, but, you know, stepping in the ring with him is a different story. Guys like Frank Martin, we all expected him to provide a little bit more resistance to a guy like Tank, but he just wasn't able to do it. And it was a great fight, but 350,000 pay-per-view buys, that's not Tank's best work. And I think a lot of people are, you know, thinking that way because he went from Ryan, 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, goes down to 350,000. So you're talking about a million pay-per-view buys lower than what he did with Ryan Garcia, and that's an estimate, you know, about that much. But you know, what do you expect? It's not like Tank has gotten less interesting. It's more so the fact that you have to sell a fight to the people. And if you're selling a fight with a guy like Frank Martin, and realistically, nobody knows Frank Martin outside of the sport of boxing. We know Frank Martin. We like Frank Martin. He got signed by Earl Spence. That means, oh, you know, he must be a big deal. We all know that within the sport of boxing. But when it comes to outside of the sport of boxing, nobody knows him. They don't know about, you know, everything he's accomplished and how good he is as a fundamentally sound fighter. They don't know that. But, you know, when it came down to making the fight happen, he was down to do it because he knew he was going to make a lot of money with Tank. And he was down for the challenge. You know, he was there to compete. I think he did everything he could. It just, you know, when those bright lights hit against a guy like Tank, you just really find out who you are. And not that Frank Martin's any less of a fighter. It's just he had never been on that stage before, and it comes down to experience. That's what I think was the issue for Frank Martin. I think he has the skills, but, you know, he didn't have enough pop to keep Tank honest. He landed some clean shots, but nothing with that true conviction that really gave Tank a wake-up call to say, you know, you better, you know, stay at bay. You better back up. But, you know, he's a great fighter. It's just he's not on the level of Tank. We knew that. We kind of expected that fight to go down. No one was really shocked by that outcome. But, you know, in terms of doing 350,000 pay-per-view buys, it's not that bad. It's not that bad for, you know, a one-year layoff. Obviously, you'd want, you know, a lot of people to be anticipating that comeback fight, but it just wasn't honestly promoted that well, and I think that's a big reason why. And Tank even said it himself that he wasn't happy with the promotion for Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis, but he has to do something about that too. You know, you got to give the people a reason to invest, and Tank does that on his own. Don't get me wrong. You know, his style on its own is exciting. I think this, more than anything, just shows how difficult it is to become a pay-per-view star. You know, you have to, it can't just only be Ryan Garcia and then fighting someone that nobody knows, and it can't just be Gervonta Davis fighting someone we don't know. It has to be a culmination of both of them. You know, that duo obviously hits 1.2 million pay-per-view buys because they're so popular. You have a narrative of Ryan Garcia, you know, being a, you know, an influencer or a social media star, a YouTuber, and Tank saying stuff like he shouldn't be a boxer, he's not really a boxer, and then going in there and competing and you know, seeing what actually happens in the ring with guys, you know, that have millions of followers on social media. Of course it's going to do 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, but if you just have one, you know, they need the other. And, you know, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they did a decent amount. Someone said like 400 or 500, maybe 600,000 pay-per-view buys. I don't know how accurate that is, but, you know, it did come out that Tank and Frank Martin did 350,000 pay-per-view buys, which isn't like horrible, but it's also like not outstanding for a guy like Tank. And I think Tank knows that. Him even saying that, you know, the promotion wasn't great for that fight. And I think that, you know, as Tank continues to increase his opposition, this won't really be a problem. I think him and Lomachenko would probably do around 600,000 pay-per-view buys, you know, or maybe a little bit more, but that's probably the ceiling for it because Lomachenko's on his way out. This isn't 3-4 years ago where Lomachenko was the biggest name in boxing. When it comes to like uprising stars and guys that, you know, were supposed to be the next generation. And not that he wasn't. He was definitely, you know, Lomachenko's going to the Hall of Fame for a reason. But I just mean that, you know, he never got to that level at 35 to the point where it was like, yeah, he's going to be the champ. You know, no, not that he didn't beat, you know, Kambosos. We know he beat Kambosos. I just mean, you know, against the elite guys. I never considered Kambosos an elite 35-pounder when it came to beating the cream of the crop guys. I think he kind of got no, I don't want to say lucky. He was just lucky that Teofimo was in that mental state where, you know, his brain was all over the place, and George Kambosos was able to take advantage of that. So yeah, I think that Lomachenko is still a great fighter. I still want to see him and Tank go at it, and I think that does more pay-per-view buys, and it all comes with the level of opposition, right? You know, like Tank is gonna continuously make more money and get more pay-per-view buys as the competition gets better. Once we see him against guys like Devin Haney, once we see him against guys like Teofimo Lopez, I expect those pay-per-view buys to continue to climb. But until then, you know, he's doing it to himself. That's just the truth. Tank has to be fighting a level of opposition that we can respect and give us a reason to watch the fight. You know, we don't want to just see guys that we know you're gonna eventually beat up and knock out. We want to see guys like Teofimo Lopez. We want to see guys like Devin Haney, and a lot of you guys are gonna say Devin gets slept, and maybe that's true, but we can't just say it. We gotta see Tank ultimately do it in the ring. And I think Tank's, you know, a great fighter. I just think that, you know, it's taking a little bit too long for him to fight the elites. And I think that this Lomachenko fight should have been happen. You know, this should have been Lomachenko instead of Frank Martin. It should have been maybe Lomachenko instead of Ryan Garcia, but, you know, Tank wanted to make that big fight happen because he wasn't here in the end of it. People were continuously saying, when are you going to fight Ryan? When are you going to fight Ryan? And so it gets a little bit difficult to, you know, if you're chasing the bag, you fight a guy like Ryan Garcia. Yeah, you got that big money fight, and he's the biggest name on your resume. But also, you know, when it comes to the elite of the elite, a lot of people don't consider Ryan Garcia to be an elite fighter. They don't, you know, consider that win over Ryan Garcia to be legitimate because of the rehydration clause, this and that. But he did make a lot of money, so there is that. So, you know, he's a prize fighter for sure. But, you know, when it comes to pay-per-view buys, he definitely needs that dance partner. That's like anybody else. Floyd Mayweather is probably the only one that could fight, you know, not so popular fighters and still pull a lot of pay-per-view buys, but still, it's not an easy thing to do. You have to do a lot of promoting outside of the ring as well. I think Floyd Mayweather was one of the best in the business at that. That's why he was so pivotal when it came to really selling pay-per-view buys. It's like he almost had it down to a science. You know, he knows how to get people angry, and when people are angry, they want to see you lose, and when they want to see you lose, they're going to buy that fight to see, you know, hopefully see you lose, and they're going to continue to buy your fights. And people are almost, you know, mesmerized by Floyd's trash talk. They continue to want to see his next fight. Can he back it up again? Can he back it up again? And time again, Floyd Mayweather has been able to do that. I think, you know, Tank, to that similar effect, is appealing to fans where we're like, is this guy going to give Tank problems? Is this guy going to give Tank problems? But, you know, the thing about it is that Tank is also putting on the exciting performances, and maybe he's not as outspoken as a guy like Floyd Mayweather is. Maybe he doesn't like the limelight as much as Floyd Mayweather does, but, you know, he's putting on those performances that Floyd never really had, and it all obviously comes with the level of opposition that he's facing as well. Maybe it's because Floyd Mayweather fought more world champions than any other fighter has. It definitely is because of that, but, you know, Tank is still knocking guys out and giving the fans what they want to see, and I think that's why, you know, Tank is getting so much success in the sport of boxing, because he is kind of, you know, under that Floyd Mayweather tutelage. Even though they're not on the best terms right now, Floyd still gave him that opportunity to shine, gave him that blueprint. But Tank has the entertaining performance to, you know, be an even bigger star and put on shows that, you know, maybe even Floyd, and put on performances that maybe even Floyd couldn't do himself. So to Tank's credit, he deserves all the credit in the world, but, you know, when it comes to level of opposition, that's where the trade-off is for him right now. So we need to see Tank in there with Lomachenko, with Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Shakur, and I think that those pay-per-view numbers won't be an issue anymore because a lot of people are criticizing him right now, but I think as soon as he fights the likes of guys like Shakur, Devin, and Teofimo Lopez, those numbers, and even a Ryan Garcia rematch, those pay-per-view numbers are going to sail up and you won't have to worry about all this talk anymore. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about Tank doing 350,000 pay-per-view buys with his fight with Frank Martin. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
That's going to do it for another Naz Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Mandabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.